Welcome back to the Psychology of Intimacy. I'm Dr. Cohen. This is episode 14 of 14, series wrap, putting it together. Across this series, we're building one big idea together, that intimacy is not a thing you either have or don't, but a process you build. If you're joining mid-series, you're welcome here, but you'll get the most out of today if you think of it as one piece of a larger picture we're assembling episode by episode. Well, here we are at the end of the road we set out on 14 episodes ago. Before we finish, I want to do something useful, pull the whole series together into a single picture so that the ideas we built one at a time can finally be seen as the connected whole they always were. I'm Dr. Rodgir Cohen, and this is the final episode of the Psychology of Intimacy. We began with a redefinition. Intimacy, we said, is not a polite word for sex. It's a rich, multidimensional thing with emotional, physical, intellectual, experiential, and spiritual faces that can rise and fall independently. That was our map, and the single conviction we've carried across every episode since is that intimacy is not something you either have or lack, it is something you build. We found the mechanism of that building in episode 2, the loop of disclosure and responsiveness. I reveal something, you respond, and in the quality of your response, I learn whether it's safe to be known. Turn that loop enough times, and strangers become intimates. Then we asked where our readiness to enter that loop comes from. And attachment theory gave us the answer, the blueprint for closeness we each drew in childhood and carry, often invisibly, into our adult and sexual lives. From there, we explored desire and dismantled the myth that real wanting must always arrive spontaneously, meeting its quieter, equally valid twin, responsive desire. We sat with the paradox that the security of closeness can cool the very desire it shelters, and learned that two real needs, for safety and for space, must both be honored. We normalized desire discrepancy and located the real damage not in the difference itself, but in the stories we tell about it. We made communication explicit, the most underrated intimate skill there is, and saw consent not as a single gate, but as an ongoing, caring negotiation between people who refuse to assume they can read each other's minds. We went to the tender ground beneath all that talking, vulnerability, and the shame that tries to talk us out of being seen, and we found that shame loses only when a risked truth is met with acceptance. We faced carefully what happens when trust has been broken by trauma, and how safety can be slowly relearned. We exposed the cultural and religious scripts we follow without reading, and claimed the right to author our own. We widened the frame to a whole lifetime, and saw intimacy transform rather than fade. And we ended, last episode, with the deepest idea of all, differentiation, that you do not have to disappear to be close, and that the more fully you remain yourself, the more deeply you can be known. Now look at what all of this has in common, because there's a single thread, and I've been pulling on it the whole time. Underneath every episode is one question, asked in many forms. When I reach out, when I disclose desire, speak, risk being seen, is it safe? Attachment asks us, vulnerability asks us, communication and consent exist to answer it. Trauma is what happens when the answer was once a brutal no, and healing is the relearning of yes. Intimacy in the end is what becomes possible between two people when each can trust that reaching out will be met with care, and when each is solid enough as a self to have something real to offer. I hope this series has done more than inform you. I hope it has reframed something, replaced a little shame with understanding, a little anxiety with a sense of how this actually works, and given you a more honest, more hopeful, and more workable picture of one of the most important parts of being human. So here is the final takeaway, the one that holds all the others. Intimacy is built, not bestowed, built out of disclosure, met with care, out of safety, patiently established, and out of two whole selves choosing to be known by each other. Take that conviction with you. Thank you for spending this series with me. I'm Dr. Rodgir Cohen. Go and build something real,